Hey everybody, Dan with Pain Free You. Today's topic: symptoms are real, but they're not proof. So I'll get to that in a minute. This conversation comes up a lot. So relax, let your body go loose, limp. Allow your breath to slow down. Sorry, a bit tired today. All right. So symptoms are real. They're not imagined. They're not perceived. They're not made up. You're not crazy. Symptoms are real. But the key thing to remember is they're not proof of anything physically damaged or wrong with your body. They're not proof of illness. Symptoms are there as warning signals. Now, in some cases, the warning signals are accurate. You fall, you break an arm, it's going to hurt. Warning signal, pain, accurate, right? But in some cases, in the case of what Dr. Sarno termed TMS, and what I refer to as perceived danger pain or perceived danger symptoms, because they can be way beyond pain, a whole bunch of symptoms. In that case, the perception of danger is false. It's incorrect. It's a misperception. So the symptoms are absolutely real, but they're not proof of anything being wrong. They're proof of one thing: the brain is sounding an alarm because it's perceiving danger. So how do you figure out whether or not the warning is an accurate one or not? Well, you can do some evaluation. Well, did anything physically happen to my body if it's pain? Did I fall? Did I kick a bedpost? Did my toe hurts? Did something happen structurally, physically? And then, if, let's say you worked out and 3 hours later you start to hurt, is that evidence of damage, or is that proof? Not necessarily, because, and I remind people of this all the time, when we injure ourselves, it hurts immediately, right? Immediately. Case in point, Saturday, I was having to move some things around in the garage. My landlord was going to have the interior of the garage painted and had to move some things. And while I was doing it, I have these heavy stands for my drum set that hold cymbals in place and things like that. While I was doing it, one of the stands tipped over, and the edge, which was very, very narrow, whack, right on my big toe. Didn't wait hours to hurt. It happened instantly. I felt it instantly. And the cool part about this is, even though it hurt bad, and I yelped, and it knocked the breath out of me, and even to the point where it hurt bad enough that I kind of had a little queasy feeling in my stomach, that thing hurt for a few days, right? Saturday, Sunday. But what's really cool is the body is miraculous. Even after a true injury where something slams down on it, probably a 10, 12 pound piece of metal slamming down on a big toe, within 2 days, the pain was gone. How come? Brain's perception was, we're okay, right? Also, the body heals. So if you have a true injury, it should heal within days or weeks. Usually most injuries, even the ones most significant, breaking the femur, the largest bone in the body, will heal in 6 to 8 weeks, right? So if you felt the symptoms immediately, could have been an injury. If there was a physical trauma associated with the symptoms, could still be an injury. But let's say you're working out in the gym and I pulled my back. Maybe you did. Maybe the brain was just warning you, hey, don't you remember we've got a history of back pain, so what are you doing lifting that weight? The brain could still be initiating a perceived danger response, thus the pain. So It's sometimes tough to tell in the moment which it is. But the good news is, if you're unsure, remind yourself you're okay. That if it was an injury, it wasn't a bad one because there was no physical trauma. Don't tell yourself stories that are going to scare yourselves. Tell yourself a story that goes, all right, I've hurt myself in the past. My body heals all the time, so I'm not going to be overly concerned with it. Apply the mindset and the calming and the confidence and the clarity, even if you're not 100% sure, because inevitably, if you respond with fear and start to predict a long-term pain crisis, your brain's much more likely to perceive danger and stay on high alert and possibly turn a little short-term thing into a long-term thing. The two things that make a pain chronic are fear and attention. So look, pain is designed to get our attention, and it does an exceptionally good job of it. When that stand fell on my toe, boy, it got my attention. I made sure to lay that thing down far away from me until I, got my wits together and had to get back into moving that. But again, the body heals. In my case, my toe feels perfectly fine. And it's only Tuesday. That happened on Saturday. And it was a significant injury. The toenail discolored. And the day after, because the body was still healing it, I could literally feel my pulse in my toenail. But the body heals. So pain is not proof of an injury unless there was an obvious injury, like I just explained with my story. But, anytime there's hours, days between what you're now calling an injury and the onset of pain, that's not how injuries work. They happen immediately. So, people will say, but Dan, my pain or my symptoms feel real. How can it be that the brain's creating it? That's just what they do. The brain creates symptoms. The brain turns on alarms. Sometimes the perception of danger is accurate. Sometimes the perception of danger is false and a mistake. The brain's creating all the symptoms all the time, whether the danger is accurate or false. So people will say, but the symptoms are so intense. It has to be physical. No, it's actually quite the opposite. It's quite the opposite. I had somebody today telling me, but I've got so many symptoms, and they're so intense. I said, yeah, and the brain's the only thing that can do that. There's no way you've got, let's say this person had 15 symptoms. There's no way the body's got 15 things going on in it, wrong in it, in 15 places, in 15 types of sensations. There's just no way. The only thing that can do that is a scared brain, or in some cases, a terrified brain. I often say a terrified brain does not operate this human machinery very effectively. It's running around the school, pulling all the smoke alarms, creating all sorts of false alarms. It's your job to calmly walk over and go, nah, there's no fire. Turn it off. There's no fire. Turn it off. Because if you run around screaming, oh my God, the school's on fire, and pulling every other smoke alarm, that's not proof that there's a fire. So regardless of what symptoms you've got, regardless of whether there's a true injury or a perceived one, calm is always the way. Trust the body to heal. It does. I just proved it this weekend. Literally, like 48 hours later, I was like, holy cow, it doesn't hurt anymore. Because 24 hours later, I was limping while walking. 48 hours later, the limp went away. The pain went away. So, symptoms are not proof of the condition of the body. They're a very unreliable indicator of the condition of the body. What they are proof of is that your brain is perceiving danger. If accurately, the body heals. If a mistake, calm, confident reassurance and trust that you're okay is still the better solution. Like when I smacked my toe with that stand, I didn't freak out thinking that I was now going to have some chronic toe problem. Nope. I just knew. Okay. Took a good whack. It'll heal. Right? So symptoms are not proof of anything other than the brain is sounding an alarm. It's up to us to figure out, is the alarm based on a real fire? And generally, if you're not sure, go to painfreeyou.com/start. You can also go to isthistms.com, isthistms.com, and that's where there are assessments where you can actually assess whether or not your experience is TMS, or as I call it, perceived danger pain, or not. Don't guess. Don't say, well, it feels real, so it must be. No, do the assessments. And if it's a brand new symptom, evaluate. What was the onset of it? Did it seemingly come out of nowhere? Evaluate. Am I under a lot of stress? Do I have a lot of chaos going on emotionally, mentally? Right? Did I work out hard yesterday, but now all of a sudden I hurt? That's not an injury. That may be a hyper-alert brain perceiving some muscle soreness from the previous day and overreacting like, oh no. Look, there's a lot of different ways of looking at this stuff, but at the end of the day, we usually know when we injure ourselves because it hurts instantly. Chronic pain, in my opinion, is almost always a mistake made by the brain, perceiving danger where there is none. Hear that again. Chronic pain is almost always a mistake. Chronic symptoms are pretty much the same thing in my mind. So I hope this helps. Hope this makes sense. I hope everybody's doing fantastic. And I love you, and I'll see you tomorrow. Take care.